I'm Linda Wigley, Director, Toitū Otago Settlers Museum. I've been overseeing the project right from the initial thematic planning stage through to completion. We've had this fantastic opportunity to start from scratch, so we've had a clean canvas to work from, and I suppose though in the early days just sorting out which stories we were going to tell. Dunedin has such a rich history, we needed to focus on certain aspects of it.
So this is really a social history museum here at Toitū, and we really wanted to show basically some kick-ass stuff from Dunedin over its history.
It's really a selection of objects from daily life. We don't provide a lot of information about them in a lot of ways. It's really just a sort of overview of all sorts of objects that people will remember from growing up or from various periods throughout the 20th century.
To a certain extent, a lot of the objects on display are things that people will be able to relate to from their own lives. So someone's grandmother might be walking through with their grandchildren and she'll see something and, oh, that'll spark a memory. So people will be able to provide their own labels.
We sort of came up with the idea of making a modular box system with moving back panels so that we can create different depths within the cases.
People often have quite entertaining stories about these things. The Hoover-matic, how they were very common, but yet they were notorious for flooding people's laundries or, destroying clothing.
That's the story really of how Dunedin went from this primitive settlement in 1848 when it was of no great account in New Zealand or internationally, to post the discovery of gold when suddenly there was a great surge of development in Dunedin and it really became New Zealand's first substantial city, the first great city we call it. So that period of dominance in the late 19th century when great buildings were erected here and the university was established and lots of businesses that became nationally significant. So it was a really happening place.
The arrival of the Cobb & Co coach during the gold rush times was a big event, enabled people to travel up to the goldfields much easier and quicker than before. It's another old favourite of the museum. It's been on display here for, well, since the 1940s actually.
Family and school groups are a major focus of the museum, and we see them as being the way to get excited museum users in the future. We're trying to make sure that there's plenty for children to do and plenty for families to do.
Josephine is one of our steam trains. It was a steam train that was introduced on the line to Port Chalmers in 1872. It's been on display for a long time at the end of the museum. Now got a nice new housing for it, so it's great.
We've basically been known as a bit of a crusty old museum, something that's been focused on, our target audience in the past has kind of ended up being old people, and I think there still will be something here for the elderly of Dunedin, but I think it's going to be something that everyone can really enjoy.
Once the door opens on the 8th of December, it's not an old museum, but rather a new museum. Essentially, the collection items remain the same, but how they are displayed to the public is completely different, it's completely new.